we need to align with the governors and see that the educational needs of our children are catered for.
Vice President Kashim Shettima says judgment granting autonomy to local government councils will enhance Nigeria's universal basic education system.
We've achieved 1,155 megawatts, specifically on the 8th of August, which keeps us on the right track.
Minister of Power Adebayo Adelabu tasked industry players on performance to restore customers' confidence. And Gombe Partners Islamic Development Bank on $1.7 billion Nigerian project pursues fast-breaking development for prosperity in the jewel of Savannah. Glad to have you join us on the news at 11 on NTA News 24. We are live in Abuja. My name is Frama Panyi. Now, the recent Supreme Court judgment granting autonomy to local government councils will enhance Nigeria's universal basic education system. Vice President Kashim Shettima stated this during the public presentation of a book, Navigating the Politics of Universal Basic Education Policies in Nigeria, written by former Deputy Governor of Ekiti State, Professor Modupe Adelabu. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports.
Professor Adelabu's insights are born out of experience and passion, and I believe this book will serve as a critical resource for all who seek to improve our educational landscape.
This is a celebration of excellence and scholarship. The book, Navigating the Politics of Universal Education Policies in Nigeria, bringing together politics, education and funding, focuses on how Nigeria fared in the race to educate its citizens in line with the evolving needs in the global market.
By reading that book, we shall be wiser and we shall know better. We are going to be wiser. And for taking a copy of that book and reading it, we are going to know better about education.
Nigeria cannot stand as an island where we are thinking of what we need there. Let's also think of how we are going to be relevant globally. And that is what I've tried to talk about in this book.
And the federal government is leveraging the charge to actualize educational agenda by using the local government areas to ensure proper policy implementation.
The recent Supreme Court judgment empowering local government councils to control their resources brings government closer to the people. It provides new hope for our educational initiatives. And as a governor, as a former governor, I won't join in gloating and insulting the governors that they have been castrated from having access to local government funds. Far from it, we need to align with the governors and see that the educational needs of our children are catered for.
I know that when we pick a copy of this book, or more copies for others to read, we'll be transferring that version of Prof to each and every one of us.
The greatest concern of discussant is the politics that has eaten deep into the standards of the nation's education, urging government at all levels to review educational policies in Nigeria for national development. In Abuja, Abraham Jibrila, NTA News.
Now, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, has urged international media outlets to adhere to the principles of fairness, accuracy and objectivity in their reporting on issues concerning Nigeria. The minister, while playing host to the Global Director News and Deputy CEO of the British Broadcasting Corporation, Jonathan Monroe, pledged the federal government's commitment to press freedom. Sailuhu Gwanara reports.
Nigeria has remained a preferred destination for businesses from around the world. British Broadcasting Corporation BBC is one of those organizations taking advantage of Nigeria's population and rich culture and pledged continued partnership. Here, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, assured investors with genuine interest in promoting Nigeria's unity in diversity, particularly those in the media industry, a conducive atmosphere and freedom.
The Nigerian authorities, particularly this administration, is committed to ensuring that practitioners in the area of media and journalism generally do their operations freely without any form of interference, and we intend to keep it so. But we also urge you to continue to balance your stories, to hear our side, our own side of the story. It's not only the bad news that comes out of Nigeria, a lot of good things. I'm sure your correspondents on ground will have seen that. We have a lot of positive things that we are doing in this country, and there is a gradual progression towards prosperity that we are seeing over there. What we require of you to is understanding of the peculiar situation that Nigeria is at the moment, and to understand that whatever government does is in the interest of not just Nigerians, but the world generally.
We're committed to continuing with our mission and to growing our audience here in Nigeria, particularly those audiences who find consumption of news more challenging, perhaps those who are not as capable of getting news digitally as other parts of the country. And thanks to the partnership we have with the Nigerian people, we have more than 30 million people coming to our news services every week.
The minister solicited support and partnership with BBC to sustain the training of Nigerian broadcasters. In Abuja, Saliu Gwanara, NTA News.
The Vice-Chancellor of the Federal University, Kashere Gombe State, Professor Umar Pate, has emerged as the pioneer president of the Society of Nigerian Broadcasters following election of new executives at its first national conference. Charles Alpha reports that new members were also inducted at the event in Abuja.
Day 2 of the conference began with the induction of 157 new members, cutting across various broadcasting organizations in Nigeria. They were tasked with the responsibility of upholding the tenets and core values of the broadcast organization. After the induction came the maiden election. Vice Chancellor, Federal University, Gombe State, and the former zonal director of the Society of Nigerian Broadcasters, Okodua Matthew, were the two candidates who contested for the post of the president, with the rest positions unopposed. In the end, Professor Pate won with 231 votes, while Mr. Okodua garnered 12 votes.
I would like to present the newly elected executives of SMB.
We thank you, sir, for accepting the responsibility.
We are accepting to serve the broadcasting industry, to promote the integrity and interests of every broadcaster.
Convener of the National Conference and Chairman Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria, BON, Saliu Abdul Hamid Dembos, and other veterans expect a rapid transformation under this new leadership.
There's so much to be done. We need to, in the first place, have the legal backing for this association. And of course, we have to extend our dragnet for membership.
We will wish to see, is the welfare of broadcasters in Nigeria.
We want sanity in this industry. We want broadcasters to have prestige. And from the look of things, we are now starting on a sound footing.
That I've almost given up all. Then it springs forth and begins to grow rapidly. So I'm full of excitement.
Before now, the Society of Nigerian Broadcasters was overseen by the leadership of BON. The new executive members are expected to serve for an initial 2 years. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
Now, there's been an improvement in crude oil production in the wake of renewed efforts of security agencies to curb crude theft and pipeline vandalism. Director of Defense Media Operations Major General Edwards Buba, who disclosed this, said security forces will sustain the offensive to shore up oil production. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa reports.
It's another opportunity for the military authorities to provide updates on operations across the country.
For the surveillance of the pipeline,
Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba provides details according to activities in various theaters.
the troops of Operation Safe Haven neutralized 10 insurgents, arrested 78 suspects, and rescued 16 kidnapped hostages during the period under review. Troops also raided terrorist enclaves in Bama and Damboa local government areas of Borno State, while they arrested terrorist commanders in Gujba and Gaidam local government areas of Yobe State.
As for crude oil production, he says there is a substantial improvement in output.
This is indicative of the fact that we are on the right track, but we are not going to rest on our oars. We are going to push forward. We are going to sustain the momentum.
The efforts are beginning to show results, with Nigeria's crude output recently increasing from 1.2 million barrels per day to 1.61 million barrels. The federal government is now targeting 2.2 million barrels per day in Abuja. Ismail Musa, NTA News.
With a target not to go below 6,000 megawatts of electricity supply this year, the federal government is engaging power generation and distribution companies to sustain the current momentum of improvement in supply. Minister of Power Adebayo Adelabu tasked industry players on performance to restore customers' confidence in the sector. Joshua Ojito reports.
Industry players across generation, transmission and distribution arms of the power sector meet to review their performances while highlighting challenges impeding the growth of the sector.
We've achieved 5,155 megawatts, specifically on the 8th of August, which keeps us on the right track to achieving these 6,000. We have to sustain it. So we have all identified the impediments to achieving this, which we have discussed here as a team, and we have set up a committee that will ensure that all these impediments are dealt with, from infrastructure, from off-taking, from anything that we believe will be called in the wheel of progress of achieving this.
There are challenges of revenue collection by the distribution companies, especially from the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria and some ministries, departments and agencies of government, and the meeting adopt measures to addressing the issue, among other challenges. On local content, federal government insists industry players must adopt local content policy for job creation and discourage importation of power equipment, as committee to enforce compliance is to be set up. Joshua Ojito, NTA News.
The National Working Committee of the Governing All Progressive Congress, APC, says every necessary arrangement has been reached to hold its National Executive Committee meeting in September 2024. The National Working Committee of the party also reacts to the court judgment that sacked the caretaker committee members of the Rivers State chapter of the party, describing it as an abuse of court procedures, since the Emeka Beke-led State Working Committee has already filed an appeal challenging the verdict of a high court.
It will interest all of you to know that before that judgment, there was a judgment that had sacked the Emeka Beke Executive Committee, which gave rise to the establishment of the caretaker committee, to which they had appealed, and the matter is still pending before the Court of Appeal. As far as the NWC is concerned, this is a total abuse of court process, and we are still waiting for his appeal at the appellate level on his sack. And subsequent upon that details and subsequent upon that fact, we as an NWC deliberated on the matter and are reiterating the fact that we are still recognizing, in view of his his appeal in the first matter, we are still recognizing the Okocha-led caretaker committee.
The National Working Committee urged members to remain calm as the party will abide strictly by court decisions for victory. And you're watching the news on NTA News24. We will pause here, take a short break, but we will return with more reports.
Nigeria
a land of rich culture and diverse voices, where every voice matters. In times of disagreement, let's choose dialogue over discord. Together, we can find solutions through understanding and respect. Let's build a stronger Nigeria, one conversation at a time. Dialogue, not protest. Unity, not division. Nigeria, united in dialogue.
Welcome back. Gombe State Government has concluded arrangements to explore $1.5 billion partnership with the Islamic Development Bank in areas of agriculture, education and other social interventions in fast-tracking development for prosperity in the jewel of Savannah. Correspondent Abubakar Akwanga reports.
Gombe State, blessed with about 20,000 square kilometers of landmass and 3 million population size, is upscaling partnerships to drive an agenda for the utilization of abundant human and material resources. Now the latest is the commitment secured to leverage on the $1.5 billion facility of the Islamic Development Bank in Nigeria to deepen investment scope in agriculture and other areas of comparative advantage within and around the borders of neighboring states.
As part of the effort that this government did, we put up industrial park, that is to stimulate economic activity around the production of either agricultural livestock or mineral resources that we can add value to in terms of processing, to see that we can support and get badly required foreign exchange for Nigeria.
I would like to inform you that the bank is quite active in Nigeria. We have a current portfolio of around $1.5 billion. We are working in 17 states. This year, we have been working with the Gombe State, the consultant, to identify, in new intervention areas since last year. And I hope that, this year we can conclude our discussion, and hopefully next year we'll have some new projects coming up, inshallah.
Other areas of social interventions include reformation of Almajiri school system and addressing out-of-school children phenomenon, which are gaining attention of northern governors. Governor Muhammadu Inuwa Yahya also promised to water grounds for free flow of investors in key areas that support government initiative in putting Gombe on the global map of advanced economies. In Abuja, Abubakar Akwanga, NTA News.
Kogi State Commissioner for Information and Communications, Honorable Kingsley Fanwo, has explained the rationale behind the appointment of 717 ward special assistants by the governor of the state, Alhaji Usman Ododo. The commissioner, while briefing newsmen on Thursday, said the appointments were made at deepening democracy and ensuring participatory governance among the grassroots population, assuring the people of the determination of the governor to give power to the people. Honorable Fanwo also explained that the high number doesn't translate to high cost of governance, saying the salaries of 3 ward special assistants amount to 1 senior special assistant that would have earned. He said what the governor did was to share 1 special assistant salary to 3 ward special assistants, meaning that the cost of governance is not increased as a result of the high number of ward special assistants. He said the Ododo administration is building on the inherited legacies of the past administration as it relates to grassroots empowerment. Many projects are currently ongoing in many rural communities, and more will benefit from the second phase. Now, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, NCDC, says the country is strengthening national coordination response on managing several endemic diseases, including Mpox, recently declared a public health emergency of international concern by the World Health Organization. At a media engagement in Abuja, NCDC's Director General Dr. Jide Idris says Nigeria is monitoring development of the disease outside the country. Olushaya Adebo has details.
In the Mpox epidemiological summary of the NCDC, Nigeria has no record of deaths from the Mpox, but a total of 39 cases have been confirmed out of 788 suspected ones in 33 states, including the FCT between 1st January and 5th August 2024. To counter the spread of Mpox, a highly contagious disease formerly known as monkeypox, Nigeria CDC Director General spoke on the workings of the National Mpox Technical Working Group, coordinating a multi-sectoral response activities.
We are intensifying surveillance activities that's tracking cases across Nigeria to swiftly detect and respond to any new cases. We are working with the Port Health Services. Along this line, 5 designated international airports and some key seaports, including land and foot crossing borders, have been placed on high alert. Declaration forms have been distributed to airlines, especially those coming in from countries where there is an ongoing outbreak of Mpox in the last 90 days.
The center draws on control measures such as getting vaccines and ongoing efforts to mitigate challenges, especially funding.
The Nigerian government is making efforts to make vaccines available to the public, especially for the hotspot areas. These vaccines have been shown to have a favorable safety profile. We are looking for support funding internationally, and that's why, again, we are talking to a lot of our partners.
The NCDC board sensitizes citizens on adherence to proven infectious prevention measures to limit Mpox virus transmission. In Abuja, Olusheye Adiagbo, NTA News.
The Indian community in Nigeria is marking the country's 78th independence anniversary with tributes to security agencies, especially the Jawans Armed Forces, who displayed remarkable bravery in India. Suleiman Abdul Wahab reports on how at the embassy in Abuja infuses reflections of the past with hopes for a brighter future.
During India's 78th independence celebration, the Indian Deputy High Commissioner to Nigeria, Vitika Rawat, urged Indians nationals in Nigeria to be good ambassadors of their own country by ensuring unity and integrity to aid India and Nigerians' growth. She described Nigeria and Indians' bilateral relations as warm, friendly and deep-rooted for many decades.
India and Nigeria have a very deep and long historical relationship, and India has always looked at Nigeria as in close partnership. We are natural partners. Both are countries which are very populated, multicultural, multi-ethnic, very diverse nations, and very natural partners.
Many of the Indians nationals at the anniversary were also quick to add that Nigeria is indeed a good home for them since being away from their native soil.
I think this is a very important gathering both for Nigerians and Indians, and especially for me. This is my 52nd year in Nigeria.
In India is going very vibrantly now. We are the top economy in the world now, the 5th economy. And again, in the cultural also, our culture is everywhere with our food, our taste and our dresses,
They praised India's Olympians for their outstanding performance at Paris 2024 Olympics game and also aspiring to see the upcoming spacecraft where Indian astronauts will be traveling to the space next year with the mission named in their own language, Gaganyaan. In Abuja, Suleiman Abdul Wahab, NTA News.
And sympathizers at the 3-day fidel prayer of late Malam Abdullahi Labo in Bashama Road, Tudunwada, Kaduna, have described the deceased as a God-fearing man who believed in the unity of Nigeria. Haruna Muhammad has the details.
In their numbers, sympathizers from all walks of life, including the former military governor of Kaduna State, Colonel Jafaru Isa, retired, and the media, converged for the 3rd-day fidel prayer of the father of the former executive director news of NTA, Malam Abdullahi Labo. Having recited the Holy Quran, prayer was held for the repose of the soul of the deceased and for Allah to grant him al-Jannah Firdaus.
Late Baba Abdullahi was an outstanding personality, a quintessential family man, an excellent community leader.
But looking at how peaceful the ending came, it's something to really say Alhamdulillah.
Late Malam Abdullahi died after a protracted illness at the age of 93, leaving behind 8 children, including the former executive director news, engineer Hussein Labbo of NTA, and many grandchildren. In Kaduna, Haruna Muhammad, NTA News.
And that's where we end the news on 11 on NTA News 24. We thank you for watching. My name is Frama Panyi. Have a good night.